Hi, we're coming. This is setup. This is setup. We're setting up around the corner here. It's so funny. I watch other people make these videos, and I watch them walk around to get in the front of the camera. But usually Michelle does it and get all set up, so I don't have to do that. So here we are. All right, this is a tag team video from Patriot Gallery and myself included. We have something special for you today. We used to do a lot of Mom, I need you to do me a favor. See that light behind you? I need to tilt it up just a little bit more.
Okay.
It's in your eyes. If I do this a little bit more, I'm going to blind myself. Where's Michelle? You need her. There we go. I'm good. We're good. Yeah.
That was quite bright.
Woo! Spots. You'd be surprised. You think you have enough light somewhere, then you go to film, it's like not light. Outside's best. Okay, so Patriot Gallery today, and she's like, man, I really want to talk about what she likes to talk about, gold and silver. Why do we like to talk about gold and silver? Because we can deal with everything on the surface. We can talk about abortion. We can talk about Russian collusion, the fake Russian collusion. We can talk about...
Wait a minute. It says live stream offline.
What do you mean?
I pulled it up. Wait a minute.
It's not on?
No.
This thing, I have to tell you, is awesome.
This part is all like really supportive, so it really holds the tummy in.
Wait a minute. Okay, you're going. No.
This thing, I have to tell you, is awesome.
This part is all like really supportive, so it really holds the tummy in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Resistance Chicks with special guest Patriot Gallery, or Patriot Gallery with special guest Resistance Chicks, whichever you.
Really supportive, so it really holds the tummy in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Resistance Michelle's a special guest Resistance Chicks, whichever you.
Really supportive, so it really holds the tummy in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Resistance Michelle's a special guest Resistance Chicks, whichever you.
Really supportive, so it really holds the tummy in.
Hello, everyone.
Keeps playing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know.
You'll
why.
see it if it has a little at the top. You'll see a little. It'll look like a microphone. Look like a megaphone. Do you see it? You don't. But you hear it.
Yeah, when it.
Welcome to Resistance special guest Resistance Chicks, whichever you.
Really supportive, so it really holds the tummy in.
Are you sure you're not? This is playing. Well, no, that is playing.
Yeah.
Are you sure it's not playing from the video behind here? Make sure these are muted.
Oh, okay.
Make sure that's muted. Click on that. Mute it. You should be good.
Okay.
It should be me.
All right.
It's like an alternative universe. It's like Star Trek. There you are, and there you are, and there you are again. Infinity, infinity, infinity. What does it mean when you're there, and then you're there, and then you're there? You know what? One day we'll do an episode on quantum YouTubing. Okay, are we good now? We got people? Any people? Comments? We know that we're doing the right thing. Comment, because Patriot Gallery is the tech team today, which is really fun. Make sure that we're doing good today. She'll be looking at your comments. No, she won't.
Like you were crawling around in a drain pipe.
That's so funny. Hello, hello, hello. Can anyone hear me? Echoes. Oh, man, that's got to be annoying. So anyways, hello again. We're going to do cut. We're going to do third. You know what? Third time is a charm. That's what they say, right? Third time's a charm. Here we go. You guys want to see my new mouse pad? We the people. I needed a new mouse pad badly. All right, so I thought I'd be patriotic about it. You know, be inspired, I should say. All right, inspired as I am for liberty and justice for all, one nation under God. Mom, if you notice Patriot Gallery in her comments, gold and silver, we need to go back to gold and silver. We need sound money practices. Well, guess what? She's in really good company. And when people poo-poo that or tell people just to shush, or the Constitution doesn't demand gold and silver be money. It's okay if we break the Constitution in that way. It's okay because it's law now, even though it's against the Constitution. Constitution is always supposed to be interpreted according to original intent. They circumvented the Constitution in 1913 with the invention of the Federal Reserve, where they could just print tons and tons of paper money. So we're going to talk about that. But why are we talking about this? Because we can talk about the Mueller report. We can talk about abortion. We can talk about Black Lives Matter. We can talk about illegal immigration. There's a lot of important issues in this world we can talk about. Healthcare, GMOs. There's so many things we can talk about. And we should talk about them. But when you have a cancer in your body and you have symptoms for the cancer, it doesn't mean you ignore the symptoms. Because sometimes you can slow down the cancer's growth. And sometimes the effect that the cancer might have on you, there are things you can do to treat it. Abortion is an effect of a cancer that we have because we don't have sound money. I would say our pharmaceutical industry is a direct result of not having sound money practices, because there's no way you can have that much money to create these kind of companies. You have to have major loans and to start research and things like that. Without sound money, gold and silver, stops or hinders cancer's growth. You could say sound money is anti-cancerous. So there are a lot of things out there like tea tree oil is an antifungal, antibacterial. It's not going to knock out every fungus. It's not going to knock out every bacteria, but it is an antibacterial that can heal. So when we talk about sound money, it's not an end-all, cure-all for every evil in this world. It's not going to stop people from murdering, cheating, stealing, killing. But what it does is it when you have sound money, it inhibits the rapid cancerous growth of corruption, right? So that's why we want to talk about that.
One of the founding fathers said, we tie down the evil, bad people with the bounds of the Constitution. So we need the Constitution to limit government.
The Constitution puts a straitjacket, you could say, on people who would run amok with evil. Hillary Clinton. I said Hillary Clinton. I meant to say Hitler. Freudian slip right there. Hitler Clinton, I guess. Hitler would not have been able to do his massive march across Europe without these banking practices for major loans that are only capable when you have printed money and not sound gold and silver. All the war, huh? What?
Let's get started.
Oh, let's get started. I'm getting there. Mom wants me to get started. Okay, keep going on Mom's thing. Okay, so we're tying this into liberty, justice, freedom, and this video here that Patriot Guy has up, I want you guys, it's kind of a follow along video. Go to Isaiah 58 Ministries at Blogspot. Go to today's, it's up there, the top blog. It's the Coinage Act of April 2nd, 1792. Is the title right?
It's also in the description.
Did I put the title right? I might have 1796 in the title.
1972.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. So, anyways, go to that and follow along and play this video. This is the years of Jubilee, 2015, 16, 17, and 18. When we're talking about these years of Jubilee, we're talking about the 50th year anniversary in the Jewish calendar, where if you had sold your land because you were poor, you would get it back. If you had sold yourselves into slavery or in indentured servitude, you would be free. If you had taken out a loan, it would be paid off. Now, in Isaiah, Jesus says, I've come to set the captive free and proclaim the year of Jubilee. So technically, under Christianity, because of Jesus, we are constantly living under the year of Jubilee. We're not slaves to anything anymore. Everything is supposed to come back to us through the power and the name of Jesus Christ. Political salvation is what we need right now. Some political salvation. God does not. I was reading in the Bible today. In Psalms, I believe it was 96. And God governs the earth and the political world. They're one and the same. He blesses and he guides the earth, and he's supposed to bless and guide us. In Romans chapter 13, it says that God has instituted governments for the punishment of evildoers and the reward of the righteous. Basically, good government is ordained by God to make sure that the world does not run cray-cray. Anarchy is not what God wants. Even if it's a secular government, you can have good government to make sure that people don't lie, cheat, steal, and take from others. When that government isn't good, as the Declaration says, we throw off the bands of such tyranny. All right. Political salvation is the power and the right to defend ourselves. And this comes from God. And it comes from God's salvation within us. We don't often couple spiritual salvation with political salvation, but Jesus said that he came to do what? To set up his kingdom, his spiritual kingdom on the earth. Does that mean that he is setting up a specific government where you've got one guy or a couple guys to hear from God and tell everybody else? No. What it means is his justice goes forth. All right? God loves us, and he sent Jesus to die on the cross for the punishment of our sins. And we ask God to forgive us of our sins, and we promise to sin no more. When God forgives our sins, he cleanses our minds and he heals our bodies. And he says, go and sin no more.
The three passages up there show the different ways in which liberty comes out in the Bible.
Okay.
So we can understand where the founding fathers are coming from. And you just gave that scripture.
Right. So Isaiah 61:1. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to preach good tidings to the meek. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound.
We want to make big. Proclaim liberty.
Proclaim liberty. All right, we're going to open up these other scriptures.
They just show you different ways in which it's translated, because people argue about translations.
Okay.
So it's like you get all these different translations.
Well, this is in Luke. This is where he says it again. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, the recovery sight to the blind, and to set at liberty them that are
bruised. So our
bruised.
founding fathers, the word liberty really meant something out of Scripture. So in order to have constitutional money, you've got to understand what liberty means. Now that scripture is about being healed, and go and sin no more is verse 14. He healed the man at he was at the pool of Bethesda, and he healed the man. Pick up your bed and walk. And then at 14, he went back and found the man and said, hey, don't sin anymore. So we've got to know what sin is.
And he says, stop sinning or something worse will happen to you. So we do need to know what sin is.
Yeah, God forgave our sins.
Right.
And so, but he says, go and sin no more, for our bodies be healed. This is about healing our country, but healing our bodies.
Right.
A lot of people have faith in God and want God to heal them. But there's a lie in your mind. Mm-hmm. You're going to be broken in that area. So Jesus, further on, Galatians, what's it say?
Well,
I'm
finding God's eternal healing for our souls, which translates to healing our bodies. And this, Mom was talking about, getting ready to say Galatians. And these are the different translations of Galatians 5:1. The King James says, stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewith Christ has made us free, and do not be entangled again with the yoke of bondage. The Amplified says, I love the Amplified. It was for this freedom that Christ set us free, completely liberating us. Therefore, keep standing firm, and do not be subject again to the yoke of slavery, which you once removed. I love the Amplified Contemporary says, in this freedom Christ has made us free and completely liberated us. Stand fast then, and do not be hampered and held ensnared, and submit again to a yoke of slavery which you have once put off. Freedom. Christianity is about freedom. And you shall know the truth. Here's John 8. So Jesus said to those Jews who had believed in him, if you abide in my word, hold fast to my teachings, and live in accordance with them, You are truly my disciples, and you shall what? You shall know the truth. This is one of the most amazing scriptures into the entire Bible. I want you to meditate on it every day. John 8:32. If you will know the truth, and the truth will do what? Mom?
Set you free.
Set you free. You shall know that. My mom grew up telling me that. Oh, you got to know the truth, Leah. Whatever it is, you got to know the truth, because when you know the truth about something, it'll set you free. Because what happens is a lie gets into your mind, whatever that lie is. It keeps you bound. It's not okay to have a lie in the back of your head, no matter what it is. It's public schools put all these little booby traps, like you remember the movie? It's my favorite, one of my favorite lines from.
I have to apologize. I brought the scriptures up behind you in the window.
Oh yeah.
And so I messed them up for a minute there.
Oh.
When the white's back there, they can't read it, but they can read it here, so they can read along with you. Sorry.
Perfect.
I
That'll
touched
work.
something again.
She says something again. It's okay, Mom.
Okay,
All right, so here we go. Here we go. Now we're going to marry liberty in Christ with gold and silver coins, y'all. I know. I want you to stick with me because I don't want you. We will not be bored with this, okay? I want to show you information that you probably don't know. You're going to go down the depths of rabbit holes and you're going to find a golden treasure. No pun intended. If you stick with me, I want you to stay with me. All right, Mom, are you showing him the coin?
I will. Where is the coins next? Okay.
Yeah. Show him the coin, Mom. Show him the first coin here. This is the first coin. And what does it have, Mom? I hope they're seeing it. The first coin ever minted is inscribed with one word and one word only. Liberty.
I gotta bring it up. Hold on.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Liberty, 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 liberty. Here's the Liberty Bell. That's the Liberty Bell. That's not the coin.
Oh, well. Liberty Bell's important, too.
Yeah, we'll show them the coin so you know what we're talking about. Let's see. Here, that's the Liberty Bell. Maybe this is no, that's the Liberty Bell too. There's two Liberty Bells. Well, the Liberty Bell's great too, but across the top of the bell it says, "Proclaim liberty throughout all of the land unto all the inhabitants thereof." This is a quote from the Old Testament of the Bible, Leviticus chapter 25, verse 10. Under it, this reads, "By order of the Assembly of the Province of Pennsylvania for the State House in Philadelphia." So, there was the Liberty Bell. The bell first cracked during a test ringing.
I thought a little bit further down had a lot of information on that page about who the Low and Stowe and somebody is on there.
Which one? This one or the other one?
The people who had it cast and made. The kids one. The kids looking one.
The kids looking one. Gotcha. Alright, let's see. Is it this one? Alright. What else did you want me to tell them about, Mom?
Okay, so we went through healing our bodies. In Galatians, stand firm in which you set free. Did you see John?
We read John.
Okay.
Oop.
Yeah, I did have that coin up here. I don't see it now.
Do you want me to get it up? Here we go. First U.S. coin minted. We want the Liberty coin. Not sure if that one was it. Mom, you're gonna have to keep finding because I just tied it up. Actually, it might be in one of my other. Might be in one of my other ones I have up. Let's see.
Sorry, guys. This is me. This is how I do it.
This is how Mom does it. Mom, we're gonna move on. Okay.
Okay.
Find the coin for them, please. All right. So
we want Leviticus.
We
read. That's
we
on
read
the Liberty Bell.
we read it from the Liberty
Proclaim
Bell.
liberty. So it ties back to Jubilee.
Right.
And we have stars in the heavens. that are telling us that God has pronounced Jubilee
Right.
not on Israel. They're all saying it's for Israel.
Right.
But if you look at the next, if you go ahead to the blogger again.
Well, here, I'll read it.
Okay.
Leviticus 25:10, and you shall hallow the 50th year and proclaim what?
Liberty.
Throughout all the land to its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you. And each of you shall return to his ancestral possession, which through poverty he was compelled to sell. And each of you shall return to his family, from whom he was separated into bond service. Bond service wasn't slavery, but it was, hey, I can't afford to. It was like getting a job. I got to go get a job. That's a whole other rabbit trail we could go down. When you are under an employer, you're a bond servant, and God wants you to be your own employer, and the year Jubilee would set you free from that. Basically, totally. So we're talking about the year of Jubilee. We're talking about liberty. We're talking about the Coinage Act. We're going to tie all these things together. Now, we're talking about the year of Jubilee. I don't know if you guys know this, but in the Israeli calendar, the years of Jubilee were, and the dates are kind of a little bit fuzzy exactly. The 50th year was most likely 2017, but we had blood moons and the years moving up to Jubilee. So we talk about the years 2014, 15, 16, 17, all years of kind of like a Jubilee, setting people free. And we had what was really interesting in 2015, the Star of Bethlehem. Did the Star of Bethlehem shine again? So if you haven't seen the Bethlehem Star movie, it's really, really, really epic and interesting to see that they've been able to track. And I don't know why, the leftist just does not want you to know that the stars literally lined up with history and show you that Jesus was born, and when there is a Bethlehem star. And you can go back with celestial equipment, as this man did, and find a star that acts and went in retrograde through the Virgo, the Virgin. It's Jupiter, the king planet. Powerful show, Bethlehem Star movie. So once you know the Bethlehem Star and how it acted and went in retrograde and came back again, and how it landed over Bethlehem there, and how the wise men could have followed it and known that it was what it was. Did this Star of Bethlehem shines again? Jupiter and Venus line up for a celestial conjunction in eye-catching heavenly display. The Northern Hemisphere stargazers were treated to a fine spectacle on Tuesday night. This was in 2015. As the planets Jupiter and Venus, the king planet, and Venus, the mother planet, I believe, lined up in a celestial dance that may have been the inspiration for the Star of Bethlehem legend. The phenomenon, known as a conjunction, happens relatively often, usually once a year, but the display is not always so easily seen with the naked eye and from so many locations. In Jerusalem, the two planets could clearly were seen hanging in the western sky and appeared as a double star, although in reality the planets were hundreds of millions of kilometers apart. According to Christian tradition, a bright star appeared in the sky, signaling the birth of Jesus to the three wise men and then leading them to his location in Bethlehem. So this is Venus and Jupiter in convergence on June 30th, 2015.
Got it up. And I found it and got it up.
Great. See?
So they're listening to you.
While there are several theories as to what might have inspired the legend, astronomers noted that in 3-2 BCE, there was a similar conjunction of Jupiter and Venus to the one that was shown that week in 2015. The next close conjunction of the planets is due, and it was in August 2016. So there was a conjunction here and the Bible says that God puts stars and the sun and the moon in the sky to show us signs and seasons. So if you know your constellations, even the Bible talks about Orion and the Pleiades. So God put those constellations in there. It's no wonder that all cultures have these constellations and the 12 seasons and the 12 signs, a little bit differently, but in essence about the same. So lies keep you in bondage, oppressed by Satan and those who worship the devil. Criminals break all the commandments of God. When the wicked are in power, the people mourn. And when the righteous are in power, the people rejoice. Who are the wicked? They are liars, false accusers, thieves, con artists, murderers, criminals. For a century, liars have been leaders. The squeaky wheel gets oiled. Then we had...
I can start over. I'll just take over here just a minute.
Okay.
The internet. Did you mention that Star of Bethlehem was on 4th of July for America? In July. It was June 30th through the 4th of July.
It was, wasn't it?
So all these years of 215, 216, 217, they're years of Jubilee.
That Star of Bethlehem was there
and
on
God
the 4th of
said
July.
it's not for Israel. Mm-hmm. It's for the new Jews, which are Christians. Christians are the new Jews. And so
we're grafted into the...
But that star, God was pointing who he's talking about at this time. With all these signs and wonders. He specifically brought up the Star of David, or Bethlehem, June 30th through July 4th in 2015. God is speaking to the stars, and we've got to listen to the stars when they speak. I needed that up there. I'll finish reading it for you.
People are so dumb.
Well, okay, I'll explain what this is. So this lady lied on the internet. Immediately, somebody was there to say, you lied. Because she was lying about an employee of a grocery store. The employee said, you're going to have to go into another line. He said, you're going to have to go back where you came from. Basically, she was in the other line. And she twisted around. She's trying to attack Trump and make him what he said caused the men to be racist. And so immediately the guy who was a part of this went to this lady's conference. She had a news conference.
Except that's not how it went.
A press conference, and straightened it all out. He was a firm Democrat. He was anti-Trump. And so it blew her. My point here, if you go back to Blogger, is when the wicked are in power, the people mourn. We've all been mourning for 100 years. Because we've been lied to over and over and over. And lies keep you in bondage. Jesus said, you shall know the truth. And the truth is what sets you free. We should want to kill everybody who lies. Because they're trying to damage our souls and put us into bondage under their lies. But basically, when the righteous are in power, people are telling the truth. And I don't really appreciate the internet, but we can be thankful for the internet because as soon as somebody lies, boy.
Well, think about,
Somebody's there with the truth.
Those kids in Kentucky would never have their names cleared if it weren't for the internet. We would not have Justice Kavanaugh if it weren't for the internet, right? Trump would not be in office if it wasn't for the internet because they would have said Russian collusion. You know, I'm looking at Mom. Let's just look at the camera. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. So here's the thing. So when you have a lie in your head, so what I want to do is I want to talk about. I know Mom wants me to get to the Coinage Act. I want to get to, and actually, so what I want to do right now is I want to go over here. No, thanks, Forbes Daily. Maybe later. What happened to the gold standard? The U.S. dollar was first regulated by the Coinage Act of 1972. So I want to go over here just to give you an idea. I want you to. We're going to read it because you need to understand the Coinage Act of April 2nd, 1972, establishing a mint and regulating the coins of the United States. Because anybody who could just print money, and I'm going to get to that in a minute, Jefferson did not want people just to be able to print money. None of our founding fathers did because it was so corrupt and it would literally destroy economies because what would happen is like, hey, oh my gosh, we're printing money and let's say, and this really happened in different places because they did print money before the Coinage Act. In different states did print money and it ruined economies because you're flooding a market and then all of a sudden prices rise. So like we talk about this all the time. There are people who gain the cream right off the top. Okay, so somebody has a farm and this happened. Prices went up. They were able to sell their farms for twice what they bought it for. And it looked like everybody was sitting pretty. Well, what happens? Everything else, all the other prices rise. Then suddenly your money deflates and it's like a balloon and you blow it up so much that it pops. you need to go back to this. So, establishing a mint and regulating the coins. Section 1. Be it enacted by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, and it is hereby enacted and declared that a mint, for the purpose of a national coinage be, and the same is established to be situated and carried out at the seat of the government of the United States for the time being, and that for the well conducting of the business of said mint, there shall be the following officers and persons, namely a director, an assayer, a chief coiner, an engraver, and a treasurer. Section 2. And be it further enacted that the director of the mint shall employ as many clerks, workmen, servants as he shall from time to time find necessary, subject to the appropriations of the President of the United States. So the President of the United States appropriates, should be the one appropriated. See, what if you have a Federal Reserve, right, Mom? But Section 2 here says that the President of the United States should appropriate the workmen. How much money should be paid for these people? The Fed just does whatever it wants. The President's not doing anything there.
Well, you read history. George Washington did exactly this. George Washington followed this as President of the United States and made mints.
Right. And be it further enacted that the representative functions and the duties of the officers above mentioned shall be as follows. The director of the mint shall have the chief management of the business thereof. And see, here's the thing. When you're reading this, you have to recognize this is the Coinage Act of 1972, right? This is really, really important, all right? This is part of our founding of our country. And when I'm reading Section 3 here, it's just gone because the Federal Reserve just does everything. Okay, that the respective functions and the duties of the officers above mentioned shall be as follows. The director of the mint shall have the chief management of the business thereof, and shall superintend all other officers and persons who shall be employed therein. The assayer shall receive and give receipts for all the metals which may lawfully be brought to the mint to be coined. All metals, not paper, metals, right? Shall assay all such of them as may require it, and shall deliver them to the chief coiner to be coined. The chief coiner shall cause to be coined all metals which shall be received by him for that purpose, according to such regulations as shall be prescribed by this or any future law. The engraver shall sink and prepare the necessary dies for the coinage with the proper devices and inscriptions, but it shall be lawful for the functions and the duties of the chief coiner and engraver to be performed by one person. The treasurer shall receive from the chief coiner all the coins which have been struck, and shall pay or deliver them to the persons respectively to whom the same ought to be paid or delivered. He shall moreover receive and safely keep all monies which shall be for the use, maintenance, and support of the mint. Be it further enacted that every officer and clerk of the said mint shall, before he enters upon the execution of his office, take an oath or affirmation before some judge of the United States, faithfully and diligently to perform the duties thereof. Be it further enacted that said assayer, chief coiner, and treasurer, previously to entering upon the execution of their representative offices, shall each become bound to the United States of America with one or more sureties to the satisfaction of the Secretary of the Treasury in the sum of $10,000. Continued on. There should be allowed and paid compensations for their salaries, yearly salaries. But I want to get on to the main point that it talks about. It talks about the buildings and everything. What is the punishment? Well, I should actually go Section 9. There shall be from time to time struck coined at the said mint coins of gold, silver, copper of the following denominations: eagles, which shall to each to be the value of $10 or units, and to contain 247 grains and 4/8 of a grain of pure, or 270 grains of standard gold. Half eagles, $5, and it lists the amount of metal that is supposed to be in each one of these coins. With the paper, do you understand how important our founding fathers thought sound, strong money was supposed to be? If they just fed up, anything's anything, why would they go down to $quarter? Each should be fourth of the value, and it says it should contain 92 grains and 16 parts of a grain of pure, or 104 grains of standard silver. These guys were not messing around. Down to half cents. All right?
It also ties to Christianity, because we'll get later how God always said use gold and silver. But dimes is a tenth or a tithe.
Yeah.
It's a French word.
A dime is a tenth or a tithe. So it's based on the Bible.
Yeah.
The Bible is everywhere. Now, it even talked about what it's supposed to have on it. It should have liberty on it with the inscription of the word liberty. and the year of the coin. And the reverse of each should say the United States of America and an eagle. All right?
And that's why it's so important to see that it says liberty.
Right.
And we tie liberty into all those scriptures we read and the Liberty Bell
Right.
and proclaiming liberty. And
Right.
they're saying their gold and silver, the right to make their own gold and silver is liberty.
Right.
If America isn't, we the people are not making our own coins and
Right.
making sure that they are pure 99%,
Right.
then we're not free.
Right. Exactly. So it goes on to so many sections on exactly how pure things need to be, exactly the weight, and it keeps going on and on and on and on and on about the different bullion and how it needs to be coined, and how it should be lawful tender.
And you can read all this in the blog, and you get all the description from the blog, from the video.
Right. So here's when I get to section 19. Are you ready for this?
This is how important it was.
This is how important it was. That if any of the gold or silver coins which shall be struck or coined at the said mint shall be debased. Now remember, why would it be a problem to debase these coins? Well, because it's thievery. If you take a piece of silver and you slice a little off, you go take it and put it somewhere else. Every time the Federal Reserve prints money, they're debasing the value of your money. And we have been debased so much that we're down to 3 cents of a dollar. So if you go up and see how much metal was in a dollar? No.
Paper dollar? Or
No, in a coin. How much metal?
It was 99% pure.
But how much weight of it? Like how many ounces was it? Whatever.
It was like so many grains. They did by grains.
So imagine you have 0.0 or 0.3. You have 0.3 of a coin. How much of that coin are you going to have left? To have the visual, I want to try you to picture how much a coin has been debased. We're down to 3 cents.
There's no coin
of a dollar.
left.
We're down to 3 cents of a dollar. So literally, it's like, unfortunately, you could almost say it's like raping a child or raping somebody. They've been debased and debased and debased and debased and debased. You're down to 3 cents, and that's what it is, a raping of money, and it's a thievery because the other people. How do you think? People said that the wealth gap has never been bigger. The rich and the middle class and the poor have never been farther apart. I'm going to tell you why. It's so simple. It's because the rich, imagine the rich, every time the bankers, the businessmen reap from the coins too, because they get the monetary value in loans at a higher rate. So then they are able to create another bigger business, and then they sell products to you at a different rate, and then so their wealth went and doubled and tripled and quadrupled. But the wealth, as Lynette talks about, that didn't go anywhere. It's a wealth transfer. So, example, you have these metal coins. Well, what happens is they go and take steel, and they steal from you your gold. You have a gold coin. This is our best. I'm trying to give you a visual.
Let me give the visual. FDR took all the gold coins, so the wealth transferred from the American people to a few people in government, and we have no more money. In 1933, we all became poor, poverty-stricken, totally dependent on the government, and they have all the money. A few people, a few billionaires, and they decide who's going to be rich and who's going to be poor. It doesn't matter how hard you work.
And the reason you don't feel poor is because they're playing with credit. So they'll give Americans...
They're playing with your minds.
They'll give Americans... Why do you think the government's okay with all these 0% credit cards out there? Because if you were cash-strapped and you needed to pay for your car repair, you might start to demand gold and silver back. So here's some credit. It used to be that Americans could save money, but now I say don't save, spend. Because your money is just going to keep the value. All right, I want to finish this because it's really important. Section 19. So if you debase any of these coins, if any of the gold or silver coins which shall be struck or coined at the said mint shall be debased or made worse, as to the proportion of fine gold or fine silver that's in there, or shall be of less weight or value than the same ought to be pursuant to the conveyance
We can't say it all.
of any of the officers or persons who shall be employed at the said mint for the purpose of profit or gain. Officers or persons shall embezzle any of the metals which shall at any time be committed to their charge for the purpose of being coined at the said mint. Every said officer or person who shall commit any or either of said offenses shall be deemed guilty of a felony and suffer death.
You weren't going to say that.
No, I'm just reading the act. I'm not saying that we should do that to people.
Not when we're allowed to say that.
I'm reading it. I'm not saying that people should do it now. I'm saying that in 1792, they felt it was so important that they gave you the death penalty if you debase gold and silver. So what they had to do, they had to make it a law. So they literally went against the Constitution. They went against... Now, where is it in the Constitution, Mom? That it says Congress has the right... Constitution says that the Congress has the right to coin money, not print it. Totally different. Now I want to get into talking to you.
At the bottom of the blog is the Constitution.
At the bottom of the blog is the Constitution. That's what Mom said.
I made sure all the information they needed was there.
All right. So at the bottom of the blog is the Constitution. Where? Actually,
Tiny little thing.
Tiny little thing. Tiny little thing. But it's a big thing. We the people.
It's in Section 1. Article 1, Section 10.
Article 1, Section 10. Article 2. Alright, here we go. Let's see. Are you sure? There we go. No state shall enter in any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque or reprisal, coin money, admit bills of credit, take anything but gold or silver coin, a tender, in payments of debts. That's a different part of the section. That is the truth. You can't take anything but gold or silver coin in tender payment. But there's another section that says Congress
Can put the value on weight on it and everything like that.
has the ability to coin money. Right. So let me get to.
Well, 8 here, it talks about how taxes must be gold and silver too.
Right.
Congress has power to lay taxes, duty, exercise, debts, and everything on there. It's to borrow money and credit, but it's all gold and silver. It has to be. Here it is in Section 8: to coin money, regulate the value thereof, and of foreign.
There's the coin. This is 1795. Liberty.
Wait. Let me bring it up. Hold on. You're not up right now.
Okay.
I got where it says in Section 8, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down.
Okay.
And then I'll bring up you. Okay. Your big old coins behind your head.
All right. So here's this big old coin behind my head.
There now.
All right. So this is I love the 10th Amendment Center. Okay. .com. Today in history, the Coinage Act of 1972 was passed. It's talking about this was written last year on April 2nd. It was the first attempt under the current Constitution to establish a coinage system for the United States. Coins were based on a decimal system championed by Thomas Jefferson and Robert Morris in the 1780s. In a report entitled Notes on the Establishment of a Money Unit and Coinage for the United States, Jefferson endorsed Morris's plan to use this system for the first coins, and Congress agreed. The coins became known as the Nova Castelliato. Unlike the Articles of Confederation, the Constitution prohibited paper money. Unlike the Articles of Confederation, because they figured out that it didn't work so well. This is what you need to understand. I'm just going to say this one more time. The Constitution specifically prohibits paper money. People don't understand. Like when it says, "Oh, Congress,"
it says only. It means only.
Has the right to print. Congress has the ability to print or to coin gold and silver. They put that in there because colony states before them had messed around with paper, and it imploded. Okay.
I think a lot of the founding fathers must have known the Rothschilds too, and knew that these men were trying to get into the United States of America and make a central bank with Hamilton. I don't like Hamilton at all. A lot of people quote Hamilton. I do not like Hamilton.
Because
Hamilton was in bed with the bankers.
He was in bed with the bankers.
To give them a charter, and Hamilton did give them a charter, and
Right.
George Washington and everybody else was trying to stop that from happening.
Right.
Because they were trying to scam the American people of their
Right.
gold and silver and take over
Right.
the country like
Right.
they had taken over England.
Right. All right, so here we go. So Jefferson's got this plan with Morris, and they're going to decimal system on the coins and say, yeah, that sounds good. We're only going to have coins. We don't want paper. Paper's bad, 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 bad. All right? So during the 1780s, the states printed debtor-friendly bills. Now, remember, these paper monies, they had nothing to do with money. They were notes of debt.
Maia has 31.101 grams was a 1 ounce silver dollar.
Thank you. There you go. So 31.10 grams, divide that down to 3%. Go ahead, homeschool girl. How much is left? All right, just kidding. I'm not kidding, actually. Go ahead. Show the people how many. You guys are awesome. How much is not in your money, right? The states, do you ever wonder why you feel like a mouse running on a wheel? You get up every day and you work really hard, but you just can never get the cheese? Because you ain't got no cheese, baby. It's a cheese in a can. That's the difference between fine aged cheese and cheese whiz from a can and a cracker. All right, one is a $100 meal at a restaurant. The other is $2.99 at the grocery store with some knockoff generic Ritz crackers.
It says live stream offline.
No, because I'm on a roll.
I don't know. I'll see here. I don't know what to do.
Well, Michelle's alarm should be going off.
I see you. There's
Okay.
20 people watching, 19 people watching. So
All right, we're here. Okay, so here we go. Because of a push primarily by Roger Sherman of Connecticut, go Sherman! The new Constitution established that Congress possesses the power to coin money, regulate the value thereof, and of foreign coin, and fix a standard weight and measures. Additionally, no state could make anything but gold and silver coin a tender and payment of debts. That is in the Constitution. We just read it. Madison's notes reflect that Sherman believed the economic doldrums produced a favorable crisis for crushing paper money. He noted that without such a constraint, the friends of paper money would make every exertion to get into the legislature in order to license it. The prohibition on the emission of bills of credit passed by a margin of 8-1 with one state divided. This was a prohibition against paper money. But these guys, they wouldn't relent, they wouldn't give up, and they got in their patsy, Woodrow Wilson, who was physically and mentally impaired. And he was also stinking racist because he played a Ku Klux Klan movie about lynching black people in the White Office. He was the first president to segregate. You know, desegregation is great. He was the first guy to say, hey, black people, I know you're here working in my White House, but why don't you just go over there? We want you separate. That is Woodrow Wilson. He was the foundation for the craziness that happened after.
I'm going to put this in a people's language.
What
happened? Yeah, you give a lot of really intelligent words. But basically, they didn't. You go to work every day and you say, I earn my money. With paper money, the millionaires did not earn it. The banks didn't earn it. They didn't already have gold and silver in their pockets.
They didn't earn
and
it.
they didn't loan out money on their own, out of their own pockets. So, of course, they're going to be wealthy.
Right.
They just printed it up. And maybe you can finish it up, and then I'll go on to my rant.
Sherman was not alone in his opposition to paper money, and several others recognized this necessity. In North Carolina's state ratifying convention, William Davie observed that it is essential to the interests of agriculture and commerce that the hands of the states should be bound from making paper money. Now, Mom, if the hands of the states should be bound from making paper money, how much more should the federal government? Installment laws or Pine Barren Acts. By such iniquitous laws, the merchant or farmer may be defrauded, what, Mom? of a considerable part of his just claims. Even Alexander Hamilton, a fierce proponent of national banking, maintained the emitting of paper money by the authority of government is why. Even Alexander Hamilton did not want paper money, okay? Then that's how crazy everybody knew it was. By the authority of government is wisely prohibited to the individual states by the national constitution, and the spirit of that prohibition ought not to be disregarded by the government of the United States. Under the 1992 Act, a United States mint was established for the first time. The United States dollar was tied to the value of the Spanish silver dollar, which had been widely circulated in North America for several decades. For the first time, the Act created a copper cent, the grandfather of today's variant. The Act also created eagles worth 10. We talked about this. All coinage was backed by weighted bullion in standard silver, gold, and copper, in accordance with constitutional power. At a central level, bullion-based coinage was never abandoned until 1861, when the United States government printed fiat greenbacks that rapidly depreciated in value over the next few years, compounding the problem further. Some state banks refused to accept the paper for deposit or accept them as payment for taxes. Now, what happened to these gold standards? The value of metal contained in the currency kept prices relatively constant before the founding of the Federal Reserve. During those 120 years, prices rose only 3%. Now, I want you to get this. In contrast, during the 100 years since the Federal Reserve, prices have risen 2,280%. Now, I talk about this because it's really important, because I remember I was a big part of my great-great-aunt Stell's life, and she was born in 1901, and she was a bootlegger, and she ran a pony keg, and then she had a lover that killed somebody. I was just a mess, but she ended up with a significant amount of money. However, that money would have been worth so much more had she had it in gold and silver. And in 1901, when she was born, the money, you could save money. That's what I'm trying to get at. She was taught that you should save money, because if you save it, it'll be worth the same thing. You should keep saving. You should keep saving. And you can invest, but saving was the thing. But if you save your money 100 years, you're going to be left with crumbs. It's better to have the stuff that you bought it with at that day before the price goes up. We're living in a day and age, if you have money, if you want to get the most out of your money, you actually should spend it. Because, Mom, think about this. Even if you put it in the stock market, you're still actually going to have, besides some sort of crazy stock market rise in some product, right? But basic things or federal or, even, what do you call it when you buy the bonds? If you were to buy something now, 20 years later, you're going to get more value out of what you bought today than in 20 years, because that money, if you save it in the bank or you put it under your bed, is not going to be worth anything because of inflation. The Constitution gives Congress the power to coin money and regulate the value thereof. This dictum was understood to be setting the currency's weight and metallic content, and was necessary to allow the currency to keep up with the growing economy. Before the Constitutional Convention, many states issued their paper money called bills of credit. Right, Mom? Mama talks about this all the time. Paper money is not money. It's a bill of credit. It's somebody giving you credit. I did work. I don't want give me a line of credit. Give me Jack so I can take it. It's like what they're saying is, I did work, and then Joe Schmo's store is going to give me a credit for something in the store. But I don't want that. I want to be able to have gold and silver in my hand, so I can take it wherever I want. I don't want your line of credit, right? Or declared foreign coins legal tender that could be used to settle debts. Some states had issued paper money in excess during the Revolutionary War and caused severe price inflation. Inflation is not a guaranteed thing. Inflation is only guaranteed when you have printing presses and counterfeit money makers. The Constitution prohibited states from emitting bills of credit. In Article 1, Section 10, as Mom just said, it also forbade them from making legal tender anything but gold and silver coins. An early draft of the Constitution by Charles Pinckney gave the power to the federal government. However, it was specifically deleted by the motion of Governor Morris, who declared the United States has credit. Such bills would be unnecessary if they had not unjust and useless. Because the U.S. government is based on enumerated powers not specifically enumerated to the government or are powers the government does not have. At least some of the founders believed that striking this clause from the Constitution by a vote of 9 to 2 would close the door on the federal government printing money. They said, no
printing money.
No printing money. Let's close the door. You don't have the power? The Constitution doesn't give you power, then you ain't got the power. Right? You would need... The Federal Reserve Act had to be in the Constitution.
It's not.
Because it was passed, but it's not constitutional. Almost a century later, the effect of removing this power is put to the test. In 1869, the Supreme Court held that paper money violated the Constitution, and that was Hepburn versus Griswold. Mrs. Hepburn owed Henry Griswold a debt payable on a promissory note. 5 days before the debt was due, the Union issued paper currency known as greenbacks to fund the Civil War. These were inferior to coined currency. The exchange rate was favorable for Mrs. Hepburn to try and pay her debt in the cheapest legal tender required by the terms of the note. Griswold sued and lost in the lower court. On appeal, it was overturned, and the Supreme Court also sided with Griswold by a 4-3 vote. Chief Justice Salmon P. Chase had overseen the issuance of greenbacks as Secretary of the Treasury, implementing the Legal Tender Acts. Now, as Chief Justice, he overruled his own actions. Now, that is a man of God and a man of integrity who, in the midst of a Revolutionary War, said, hey, we can do this, but then realized it's not constitutional, right? President Ulysses S. Grant added 2 Supreme Court justices in 1870. The following year, did I say Revolutionary War? I think I meant Civil War. Sorry, Civil War. Sorry. Slip of the tongue there. President Ulysses S. Grant added 2 Supreme Court justices in 1870. The following year, the opinion was overturned in 5-4 votes, and with Chase now writing for the minority. The expansion of the federal government into wielding powers that were never enumerated in the Constitution is all too common. Can we say FDA, CDC, Department of Education, FBI? And once such a necessary and proper power is taken for the regulation of commerce, the federal government never gives it up. The Coinage Act of 1873 demonetized silver, and the Gold Standard Act of 1900 guaranteed gold as the only standard for redeeming paper money, stopping bimetallism and no longer permitting the dollar to be redeemed in either gold or silver. It confirmed the government's commitment to the dollar by assigning gold a specific dollar amount, 20.67 cents per troy ounce. The creation of the Federal Reserve in 1913 marked the beginning of the end of the gold standard. 5 years later, the Fed accepted gold from foreign countries as a payment.
Anybody who knows anything, that was a real sleight of hands right there.
Yeah.
That was a sleight of hands. That was satanic. That was an illusion.
We're just going to commit that this is what it's going to be, guys.
Go up. But all of a sudden, gold isn't based on the value of silver. In the original Coinage Act,
it was gold and silver.
Gold is based on the value of a silver dollar.
Yeah.
And it had to be so much weight, an ounce of a silver dollar, and then, quarters and dimes, all pure 99 silver. All of a sudden, they gave more weight to their 20.67 troy ounces, which all of a sudden, wait a minute, that's dollar bills right there. That 20 is dollar bills, not silver dollars.
Right.
See, a $10 eagle is based on 10 silver dollars. And that's really easy and really simple. They're doing a sleight of hand. Right. This right here was magic. People couldn't understand this at all, believe me. They're like, what? Their minds went tilt. I'd like to stop here. Maybe we can leave this in the description, unless you think it's really important.
I'm on a roll. I love this stuff. I need to think it's important. I need people to know
I just want to save people's souls.
We're going to get to it.
We want to save their souls. And all this stuff is messing with your brain.
The lies, but they have lies in their head. So I want to get the lies out. 5 years later, the Fed accepted gold from foreign countries as a payment for World War I debt. This allowed excess gold reserves to accumulate, called free gold because it wasn't currently required to back printed currency. This so-called free gold gave the Fed discretion over how much gold to use in backing the currency and the ability to inflate our currency with the stroke of a pen. A little over a decade later, the Fed forced all Americans, and this is really important, okay, because the Fed forced all Americans to surrender their gold. When we're talking about freedom,
And liberty.
We're talking about liberty. If this wasn't a treasonous slavery act.
And Galatians says, stand therefore in the freedom which Christ has set you free.
And I really think that today we keep talking about, reparations. I want reparations from my family getting their gold taken from them because that was here in this century.
And God's going to do that with the year of Jubilees.
And so we got to believe. You have to have faith for the promises of God. He ain't just going to... The problem is that what Christians don't understand is that you have to believe that you're free in order to be free. You have to know that you're free in order to be free. Our founding fathers knew they were freemen, so they were willing to live and die for that freedom. The Pilgrims knew they were freemen, so they were able to give their lives, hopefully live, but they were able to give their lives for this freedom. Today, we have a shifting of the sands. And if you don't know what you're fighting for, you're going to be wandering through the dark, wondering, why is life so hard for me? Because my friend Serge said, Leah, we were talking about the end times and stuff like that. Don't you think that God's punishments are for the wicked? We were talking about, God bringing vengeance upon our country. Don't you think it's going to be for the wicked and not for the people who have nothing to do with abortion? People who don't know any better and they're sending their kids to public schools because they don't know any better. There are a lot of people who wake up every day and you know what? They just try to do the right thing. God's not after you. He's after you and He wants to get you free. He came to set the captives free. But did you know if there is a captive, then there is a captor? If there are sheep being terrorized, there are wolves out there terrorizing the sheep.
This is our Reformation here, the year of Jubilee. I brought this up here. It's behind your head. Leviticus, it says, ancestry home.
And you shall hallow the 50th year and proclaim your liberty throughout all the land to all its inhabitants. It shall be a jubilee for you, and each of you shall return to his ancestral possession.
So they stole the land from our great-great-grandparents. We're going to get it back.
Right.
It's the year. That's why it's so important to read those stars and know God put that in there.
Right.
From the beginning of time, up in the sky. The stars were there before any of us.
Right.
World was created.
So the Fed forced all Americans to surrender their gold currency to the Treasury in exchange for the U.S. dollars. And the following year, it revalued their gold, increasing the dollars required to buy an ounce. This action created more free gold. During World War II, the Fed used some free gold to purchase bonds and drive interest rates down to help the Treasury finance the war. Price controls were put in place to hide. Price controls hid inflation until 1950. When they were removed, Congress instructed the Fed and the Treasury to operate independently of one another. That's obviously awful. This instruction officially came into focus when the two agencies signed an accord in 1951, but little independence has occurred in recent years. With the gold standard suspended in many other countries, foreigners converted their leftover gold into U.S. dollars. This devalued the currency but cornered the gold market. By 1945, the United States had 75% of the world's monetary gold and the only gold-backed currency. At this point, the Fed could already function as though it didn't have a gold standard. With excess gold in its reserves, currency could be changed at will. This occurred even during the 1969 recession. In 1971, the United States finally dropped the gold standard and now kept it name only. In the Fed's first decade of existence, the dollar was devalued 55%. From the creation of the Fed in 1913, the gold standard was dropped. In 1971, the dollar lost 75%. From 1913, we're now at 3%. So why is this all so important? Because whether it's a public school, foreign wars, abortion even, moms having to go to work because what happens,
buying a cell phone and all this other stuff, it's still all sleight of hand. It's all magic. It's all tomfoolery. Because each man can build his own house,
right?
Build his own barn. Well, let's buy some land, and there's usually trees, or you have the elements you need to make bricks or stone, and men can make their own houses within 2 years.
Right.
And then when the children come along, you just add to it. You're clearing your land anyways, of the stone or the trees or whatever, and you just put that into building your... Life does not cost all this money.
Haven't you ever seen?
Taxes are slavery. In
Think
1900, there were no taxes. There were no income taxes. There were no property taxes. Because taxes is slavery.
Everybody knows. I don't want. Think about some of these stone walls that you see. They've been there for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. They're not going to go anywhere. When you build your own home, when you build your own walls, they last a lot longer. Now things are falling apart. You put your heart and soul into things. We want here at Resistance Chicks to give you a foundation to know that you can be free, that God wants you to be free. But if you don't know for what are you believing for? Right? What is freedom? What is freedom important?
Well, God is right now in the midst of setting us free. This is an act of God.
Right.
The Bible says no man could save.
Right.
So God, by his own arm, brought salvation. So when we say the year Jubilees, 215,
Right.
16, 17, and we say, look at the stars for America.
Right.
God is bringing redemption and salvation. And he's going to be a Leviticus.
Right.
And he's going to return us all back to the land. And you're
Right.
going to find out how easy
Right.
life is. I was
Right.
telling somebody in chat last night, gold and silver is real money. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. They're going to throw their gold and silvers in the street according to the Bible. But it does matter because
Right.
you have been a slave. You've missed out on life. You have not lived. And I'd like to read my rant real quick
Yeah, go ahead,
here.
read your rant.
And this is something I read from that blog last night. I wanted her to know that she's missed out on being married. She's missed out by being loved and having her children love her and her love. You should be, I'll read it first. Okay, gold and silver coins. If you don't have any gold and silver coins, only credit cards, pieces of paper, a checkbook, lots of debt, the government has taxed you over 100%. And every year over 100% since you were born. They overtaxed your parents. You have been a slave to the state. You are broke. You are poor since 1933. When it comes to gold and silver coins, we will all know the truth. This is what's going to happen. We're all going to know the truth. You honestly have to use gold and silver coins. Think. The kings and queens who we had a Revolutionary War. We were revolutioning against because the king wanted our gold and silver coins. Okay? So they had to have gold and silver coins. Nobody was stupid enough to accept anything but gold and silver. Nobody was dumb enough to take these pieces of paper.
Right.
So queens, kings, they taxed for gold and silver coins for money. I mean, the wealthiest of wealthiest knew gold and silver was real money. And so the Revolutionary War was because the king taxed our gold and silver coins. If you don't have gold and silver coins, you are broke and you are a slave to the government. No one can just print money out of thin air. And now when they took all the gold and they said, oh, it's going to be backed by gold, they printed more paper than they had the gold. It's a con's game. Paper money is just a big old con's game. It's a magician's trick. It's in your imagination. Nobody can print money out of thin air. That's why kings and queens have always taxed gold and silver coins. There is a price to pay for not using gold and silver coins. God will balance things out. There has to be a balance. All this overabundance of wealth in America has to be balanced out. Yeah. Abraham Lincoln said for the price of slavery, there's bloodshed. Yeah. For the Civil War, and these men hollowed it by their blood being shed. We don't know exactly what that price is going to be, but I promise you, there is a price to be paid. Most Americans will be set free.
Yeah.
But there are few who knew exactly what was going on, knew exactly what they were doing.
Well, John Kennedy's dad.
Yeah. So anyways, go on. Balance will be made. That means somebody's got to die. I'm just sorry. That's just the way it is. I mean, I'm not going to kill anybody. Nope, not me. Nothing. I didn't say that. I'm not saying that. Bring justice, and justice will bring healing to mankind. Heal the earth from those who, even using bulldozers. You use bulldozers, other machines to destroy the earth. You destroyed nature. You destroyed animals, habitats, etc. That was unfair. It was wrong. You're destroying the earth. So all that stuff has to be balanced out. No one can just print paper money. It's a lie. There is no free wealth. Paper, fiat, is free. It is what a paper dollar means. Mortgages, car loans, credit cards represent. It's all free, easy money. It isn't real. It's a lie. You have to have the silver. You have to have the gold. You didn't buy your house or your home or your car or provide for your children. The state just gave you some coupons, and it all belongs to them. God's going to redeem all this. Once you realize the whole truth, you will go through the roof like every other American.
Mm-hmm.
You are homeless. You live in a home, but it's not yours. You are actually homeless. What you bought isn't yours. We are all going to have justice from God and break this dark cloud of witchcraft, slavery, oppression that hangs over everyone's head.
Yeah.
No one wants to look at the truth.
Right.
You know, you work for years as a slave.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, everybody's pension's gone. They told you you're saving money in your pension fund.
Right,
Well,
right,
it
right.
was a lie. It was all a lie.
Right.
And this hangs over everybody's head. And so we got to look at the truth. Your job was not making money. Your job was slavery.
Right.
But what happens is you can build your own house, your own home in less than a year. And it can last your entire life. You can cut down your own trees. You can make your own bricks for free. Everything is free from God.
Right.
That's what's really important. God provided for you all you ever needed. That's why
Right.
people say, oh, we don't need God anymore. Well,
Right.
you don't know what you're being lied to and you're stolen. Everything is free from God, and you'd be
Right.
able to thank God every day for what you have.
Right. Right. Right.
Because your trees, I mean, we have weeds, okay? You always hear me going out and pulling weeds. Mostly tree seeds. Trees just grow. There's no reason for anybody to be homeless because
Right.
trees just grow, especially where we live, and they grow 100 feet tall
Right.
around here. I mean, we don't have small trees. Anybody can have a house. Anybody can have a home. And a lot of people, they have all rocks. You go to Ireland, all you got is rocks. There's no reason for anybody to be homeless. It's free. And so this interest, all this other stuff is just tomfoolery, robbery. Let me finish this up here. So God provided all you ever needed. You don't need to go to the grocery store. You don't need to hire a contractor to build a home. You're asking for too much. God didn't give you the gold and
Right.
silver for that fancy $1 million house. God didn't give you the gold and silver for everybody to live like kings and queens.
Right.
God didn't give you gold and silver so everybody has a cement pond, a swimming pool. You got to accept what God has given to you. But on the other side, there are spiritual blessings and love that you don't know you're missing out, and strength and power that you're missing out on. So evil men stole it all. Then trained everyone to be workers or consumers. It's a circular life. No one is ever free. To live is to love your mother, love your father, love your siblings, love your spouses, love your children all day long, every day. We do that around here. When we're working with one another, we feel each other's love. And you don't know what life is like that when you go to work and you have to have a relationship with people at work, but they're not your family and you really can't love them. That's why there's so many affairs at work. It's not natural to go men and women working with other men and women. That's just natural. You're going to love the people you're around. So, but you share your time on this earth together with your spouse, with your children. That's the good news of Jesus Christ. To love and be loved 24/7, 365. Living in peace with one another. Worshiping God together.
Right.
And then I'm going to wrap up here. The next thing is a blog I wrote. I gotta bring it up. Sorry, I can't. I don't know how to do 2 pages. Could you bring this up there?
Yeah.
It says God will keep America healthy no matter what, and then it has gold and silver
Is
under
it a
it.
separate blog?
No, just go to view that one right there, and go all the way down to where I had the red letters, gold and silver. Up the paragraph above it, right there.
This one?
I was concerned about somebody's health, and so it
The
says
blog
God
spot?
can keep. No, right there. It says God can keep America healthy. Right there. It says God can keep America healthy.
Oh, God can keep American healthy no matter what evil men do, using chemistry or wizardry with the GMOs and witchcraft. When we seek and find the truth, the last 100 years, men went from pure, clean minds, clean society with peace and clean water, should say, Then the ACLU took over, legalizing evil, crime, perversion, and making God good, being clean, and illegal, wholly illegal. They took everything that was good and made it illegal, and they took everything that should be bad and they made it legal. Sickness and disease went off the scale. People used to lay down peacefully and die of a good old age when they knew it was their time to go. What happened was gold-backed pieces of paper were deception, made things illegal, separated families. Now you got people in nursing homes, kids in daycare. Pedophiles are running everywhere. They're running the place. They're running Hollywood. They're running your schools. They're running the Catholic priesthood. They're running everywhere. Because it's all in their imagination. It's all make-believe. Because gold-backed money, fiat, is make-believe in the imagination. It's a delusion. It's magic. Pirates always stole gold and silver coins, jewels, because it's real. It's what the Constitution says. Only gold and silver coins.
And that's all this scripture about God.
You don't need any imagination. It's just real.
But I wanted to share those scriptures.
Speak now in the ears of the people, and let every man borrow of his neighbor and every woman of his neighbor jewels of silver and jewels of gold. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses, and they borrowed from the Egyptians jewels of silver and gold and raiment. And thou shalt hang it upon 4 pillars of shittim wood overlaid with gold. Their hooks shall be of gold, and their 4 sockets of silver. To devise cunning works, to work in gold and in silver and in brass, and to devise curious works, to work in gold and silver and in brass. And he made unto 4 pillars of shittim wood and overlaid them with gold. And God uses gold and silver, is what Mama's saying, and God never used any sort of fiat currency, made up, fake paper dollar.
So I thought we'd round off and Leah could sing a little song for us and let people know. I'll break this down into smaller.
Mom wants me to sing a song. Let's see.
I had one earlier.
You did?
Yeah, but I can't remember what it was.
Let's do Come Now.
Oh, it was, you never heard the Star Spangled Banner before like you heard it.
Oh.
It was that one.
Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy praise. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet, sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the mount I'm fixed upon it, mount of thy redeeming love. Here I raise my Ebenezer, here there by thy great help I've come. And I hope by thy good pleasure safely to arrive at home. Jesus saw me while a stranger, wandering from the fold of God. He to rescue me from danger interposed his precious blood. On that day when freed from sinning, I shall see thy lovely face, clothed in the blood-washed linen. How I'll sing thy wondrous grace. Come, my Lord, no longer tarry. Take my ransom soul away. Send thy angels now to carry me to realms of angel's days. Oh, to grace, how great a debtor daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy goodness like a fetter bind my wandering heart to thee. Or I should say, my money to a gold standard. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave sound money, I know. Here's my heart, Lord, take All right, be